Warm greetings from IMC in Redwood City, California. And I have a delightful feeling of the goodwill that somehow circles the spot that I'm in through all the YouTube kind of spreading out in all directions. And I hope that each of you maybe can feel the same thing, that from your spot there's circles of goodwill as this community gathers around the globe. And so this week I'm offering little exercises, mindfulness exercises that go along with the Dharma, the teachings that I'm doing. And so the idea is to continue with your mindfulness practice as you do it. But then this little exercise might be relevant that you could do as you go along. And this one has to do with the idea that something happens and then we react to it. Of course, we don't always react, but there are reactions. There's a difficult sound outside, uncomfortable sound, and then we react to it. We get involved in it, we get for and against it, we start thinking about it. It might not be a perfect match for our English idea of reaction, but the Buddha used the word knot, entanglement. Sometimes it's translated into English as fetter. So a knot, getting knotted up in something. And so this idea of getting caught, maybe we'd use in English. But, if you get caught in the spider web is kind of responsible. When we get knotted up, we're the ones who create the knot. We tie ourselves up. And so as you go along in this meditation, I want to say one more thing, that this way in which we get knotted up with things, caught in things, is not always so conscious. It kind of happens a little bit, but not necessarily in the unconscious, but it happens kind of under the radar. We're busy focusing on whatever we do, and we don't notice some of the more subtle ways we get entangled and caught. So at this exercise, as we go along doing the basic mindfulness practice, and whatever you notice, whatever you're noticing, like if you're noticing the in-breath and the out-breath, you're noticing a sound, a body sensation, a feeling, whatever it is that comes into awareness, if you're caught in it, reacting to it, entangled with it, then use the word label knot, K-N-O-T. And I kind of delight in this label because it can also be spelled N-O-T. So in other words, not this. Let's not get entangled. Let's not get knotted up. So just say very gently, lovingly, calmly, knot. There's a knot. Recognizing there's a knot, and a little subliminal kind of feeling. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I don't need to. So just knot, and just notice. So if you start thinking about something, start thinking about your breath, in a subtle way, maybe without any discomfort, you are kind of not, in the Buddhist language, you're not knotted up in it. You're now involved in it. So maybe involved is an English word for this, but knotted up. And so if this seems like too much, or you don't care for this, please, you don't have to do it. But it might be interesting to notice how often, in some way or other, you get involved in what's happening. And it might be interesting to see what happens if you just quietly recognize it as a knot. So taking a meditative posture, establishing posture that's upright or alert or supportive for you, and the one that also allows you to relax. to relax, to make room for yourself to become calmer, for calmness to be here as well. And even if you're agitated, there could be a wave of calmness or a envelope of calmness around it. Gently closing your eyes. And taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. With the idea that these deeper breaths are calming you, bringing some calm, some settledness. Especially as you exhale. A calming, peaceful effect. Breathing in, breathing out. Letting your breathing return to normal. And on the exhale for a little while, relax your body, different parts of your body, with the idea that each little micro relaxation is a gentle calming, settling. And steadying yourself on a normal breath, calming yourself into an attention centered on breathing. Maybe the exhale has a little peacemaking movement, a wave of calming, settling, and allow yourself to feel the calming, soothing, impact of exhaling, even if it's just at the very near the end of the exhale. Letting go of thoughts. Every exhale, letting go of thoughts. And if you find yourself involved with anything that you're in the present moment, thinking, feelings, body sensations, sounds, any concern, anything that we call a concern because you're caught up in it or involved, gently, lovingly say the word not. Recognize it as a not, an entanglement, and see what happens in the wake of simply recognizing it as such. No need to let go of it. Just recognize, oh, there's a knot. And then continue with your breathing. If you are involved in thinking, you probably have a knot, an entanglement. It can feel innocent enough to be involved in thinking. But when it takes us out of the flow of the present moment, we would call it a knot. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, to turn your attention outward to the people, community that you somehow are in touch with, in contact with, interact with. And consider what it would be like to be present with them without being reactive, without being entangled, without a knot, being knotted up. Maybe consider the peace or the calm or the ease it might provide you to be present, unentangled, just present, available, attentive. And what it would be like for them to be able to experience themselves without being entangled with anything, with themselves, with others, with their things. They can still be attentive and engaged but not entangled. And if we have some experience of disentanglement and the benefits of it, we can know more about the kind of happiness and peace and ease that's possible for human beings. And for whatever peace and well-being and happiness that we know is possible, may we wish it for others. May we be inspired that this be a possibility for others to experience. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings be disentangled. So before I begin this talk, I have an announcement. So there is starting to be plans. There are plans now to try to reopen IMC sometime in the next few weeks with kind of a COVID-era protocol of different types, including only being open for people who are vaccinated. And so there'll be more announcements about this, and information about that will appear on the website. But the announcement now is that this Sunday, after the 10 o'clock Dharma talk Sunday morning, we'll have a community meeting on Zoom to discuss the opening and questions, concerns, similar to what we did I think in July when we were thinking about opening back then. And so if anybody would like to come, you're welcome to come, even if you don't plan to, not relevant for you because you're not planning to come in person, but it might be interesting to come along. And the information for that is in the calendar, IMC's calendar, and also in the What's New section of the website, the home page of the website, IMC website. There's on the bottom right, there's a section called What's New. And there's an announcement about the community meeting with the link, the Zoom link. And it's password protected, so and the password is there. But the password is METTA, METTA. So, so this week I'm going through the 5 mindfulness exercises that are taught in the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And these are, I call them exercises, these are ways of practicing in order to develop a heightened sense of mindfulness, so that mindfulness is established. And so it's kind of a means, and the means to be mindful is, in a sense, to be mindful, but there are particular ways or emphases that are given. And in the 4th foundation is beginning to pay attention to either the way we get entangled in things, get caught up and attached, or the process by which we get free and liberated. And so there are 3 exercises around being entangled, being caught, and they're going from coarser, maybe, more activated, more conceptual, more story-centered, more complex world that we live in, to the simpler and simpler. And so it started off with the complex world of our attachments to our desires and aversions, and to the things where we desire and have aversions towards. And that could be anything, complicated things in the world, and ideas, and things that get along. Once we stop getting so concerned in the world, of objects and things in a sense, including our own comfort, then we settle down, and there's a next layer I talked about yesterday, which is the ways in which we identify, the way we get involved with things based on me, myself, and mine. As we get quieter still, and there's less coarser, there's more subtle, and there's less baggage, less complicated ideas and concepts, no concept of self anymore. We're left to with simple sense experience in the present moment. We're not thinking about the future and the past. We're just really present here. And we hear a sound, we feel a body sensation, we recognize there's a thought. And they're all considered very simple sense recognitions. And we don't usually think of the mind door as being a sense, but whatever ability we have to recognize, the simplest recognition of what's happening in the mind, before the complexities around it and reactions to it, is called, a sense experience. And so with the eye, there's the object of the eye, that's the things we see, and then the Buddha talked about the entanglement between them, the knot that gets formed, how we get knotted up with it. So there are 3 things happening. There's the eyesight, there's the ability to see, the eye, the eyesight that sees. There's a thing that we see. And then kind of imagine that between the object of sight and the eye, there's things get knotted up. Of course, the knot is in our brain, in our mind, but we get involved, we get attached to, we get caught up in, we get it sticky, we start thinking about it, wanting it, reacting to it. And it's not too complicated ideas of the world, like winning the lottery. It's just in the moment as we go about, it's something very simple. There's a sound, and then we recognize the sound as a car, and then we might get entangled with it. We might start thinking about the sound, and and or not liking it because it's unpleasant, or liking it because it's pleasant, and wanting more of it or wanting less of it. And so getting knotted up. And in the most English translations, they translate this word as fetter. And I don't use the word fetter in my ordinary English life. I don't know if maybe some of you do. But the Pali word has the meaning of being knotted up, a knot. And so I like just knotted up. And so it's now recognizing that there can be two things. There's the experience we're having, and there's the way that we relate to it. And that way we relate to it might be not free. It might be free of any entanglement. We can engage in it, we can think about it, we can care for things without being entangled. But we also can be entangled. There can be attachment, and it can be very, very subtle. If you just simply start in meditation, simply start thinking about something that's happening, you've left the flow of the present moment, and you're now become, you've kind of maybe the word like knot or entanglement seems too big, but it's gotten sticky. We got leaning into it, and we kind of lost something in the process of thinking about it. We lost our mindfulness and our present moment experience. So, so the Buddha says that talks about how in this exercise, when one is aware that there's seeing, one is aware of what is being seen, and then aware of what that relationship is, the entanglement in particular, how we're caught by it or reactive to it, and so we know when it's present. The fetter, the knot, we know what it's like when it's not there. And this distinction between recognizing the presence of something and the absence of something is very important. In mindfulness meditation, we often emphasize recognizing what's happening in the present, which kind of always gives a subject, something is happening that we're aware of. But in fact, sometimes it's important to be mindful of absence. Not all the time, but when we've been attached to something, it's valuable to take some time to experience what it's like to be unattached, the freedom that comes. So to be knotted up, and then know the experience of being unknotted, the ease, we breathe more easily, there's more sense of openness, spaciousness, lightness, all kinds of, whatever way it might be experienced, so that it registers and we kind of begin to those channels to that kind of unentanglement starts becoming more available to us because we let it register more deeply. And so the Buddha talked about noticing the presence of these knots, the absence of them, and then being present enough in the moment that we can see that a knot that hasn't arisen yet does arise. We notice the arising of it. Oh, here I get knotted up. And that takes a sharp mindfulness to really be here and say, oh, I can watch the process. We don't wait until we find ourselves knotted up. We watch the process. And this is what benefit can come when the mindfulness gets established well enough in the present moment, that there's a kind of sense of flow in the present, a sense of rising and passing, appearing and disappearing, the river of experience that's happening here and now, that as we stay present for that, we notice when we leave the flow, when we get involved in something. And we can watch the beginning of that because it's part of the flow originally. And then, and he talked also about then knowing that the knot has been abandoned, let go of. He doesn't say to let go of it, but I think maybe it's implied. But we're aware of it, and letting go of it as well, that it's gone. We've let go of it. It's not there. So that we can benefit from experiencing the absence of it. So there is some, so I like to say that if it's easy to let go of something, like a knot, let go of the knot. We're not necessarily letting go of things in the world. We're letting go of that entanglement that's between us and the thing. And then take time to be aware of what that absence of entanglement is like. If we do this regularly and strongly, a special time will come where, in practice, where we have a clear sense that the entanglement is not going to arise again, at least not in this meditation or in this state of mind, this kind of presence we have. And this clarity and confidence, wow, I'm so settled, I'm so present, I'm so much peace and self-awareness, awareness going on here, that no way am I going to get entangled. That requires a kind of a coarser activity, a kind of choice and involvement that I'm simply not inclined to do now. And to really feel that, wow, I'm not inclined to get entangled again. It's like, now I'm safe, at least for this meditation, for this next few minutes. And to feel that possibility, to know that this is possible, can be life-changing, because we know that life doesn't require attachment, doesn't require being entangled. So at first we're disentangling ourselves from the coarser, big ideas of the world, the things we want and don't want, that involve stories and ideas and complicated concepts, and that are the hindrances. And then we do something more subtle, which is the whole way in which we attach to self. And then we get more subtle in just our relationship to sense contact. And it might seem uninteresting, it might seem not so valuable to be aware at this more base level of sense contact, but it turns out that some of the deepest attachments we have arise out of the attachment to these basic sense contacts. It sets the stage for all the other attachments and sufferings we have. So it's very powerful to kind of settle enough to really track it. And as we start getting more sensitive and aware of the entanglements and the absence of them, then we're poised to be aware of some of the benefits that come on the path to disentanglement, on the path to really becoming free. And that's a topic for tomorrow. And so for the next 24 hours, you maybe use this concept of a knot or an entanglement, and go through the day recognizing as much as you can your entanglements, either while you're doing it, also afterwards. You might kind of reflect back over the day and say, well, where was I entangled and caught? Sometimes it's hard to see in the present moment, but sometimes retrospectively we can see, oh, I see. And see what you learn about yourself in that process. So, thank you.